PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects. Welcome back to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast, our weekly Star Wars podcast here on PLD Projects. I am PLD. With me, as always, my co-pilot, my compadre, my brother-in-arms, Matty Gunner. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm tired. I am so tired. I got back from Manchester. I was in Manchester for the last few days. I was essentially pretending to be Morrissey, but without being a complete dick, like Morrissey is. But yeah, it was good. I had a lot of fun. I can't quite say what I was doing in Manchester just yet, but it was very creative and very, very fun. And people can expect some cool stuff coming.
I did see a couple of cryptic tweets from you. You haven't actually told me even off air, so I am actually intrigued myself.
I've told no one other than me and the three people that were up there with me.
Okay, that's fair. But I do like the sound of your cryptic tweets. You did say good, so I'll take that as at face value that it's good.
Here's a question I want to ask you.
Okay.
When was I know that I think it was 2 episodes ago. I asked you when was the last time you wrote a letter. When was the last time you just walked around and just did absolutely nothing, just blended in with the crowd and just did nothing?
Quite a long time ago. First of all, I'm mostly recluse. I don't leave my house if I don't have to. I love just being a homebody nowadays. As I get older, I just more and more I'm like, I've done that. But also just so busy with things, it's hard to get a time to just do that. If I have free time, I tend to fill it with something. But I do miss it though occasionally. I do think about that. It's nice to do, just to kind of be present in the world and let things happen. So I take it this is related, potentially.
Right. I was walking around at 11, 12 o'clock at night,
right,
completely on my own in the evening, in just walking around Manchester. I just had my headphones on and I curated a playlist of Joy Division, The Smiths, Morrissey, Oasis, and the Buzzcocks.
Can't get more Manchester.
Just like an all Manchester playlist. And I text Ken Knapsack, who is the world's biggest Oasis fan.
Right.
Because I am you are living vicariously through me right now. I am walking through Oxford Street, listening to Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger, and I was just trying to put myself in the mind of Morrissey when he was writing all those songs for the Smiths. Just how did. Because it doesn't get the credit. Everyone thinks, England, and they immediately go to London.
Right.
Rightly so, because it's the capital city.
Right.
If someone said to me, I will pay for you to move to Manchester tomorrow, I'm going.
Yeah, I get it.
Just it's so you walk down the street and it's just old buildings everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just proper more blue collar city, just regular people.
Right.
I was walking around aimlessly and just kind of people watching, kind of taking in the atmosphere. And I was just man, this is cool.
That's pretty cool, man. That's a pretty cool feeling.
I did it in New York one time too, in Manhattan. I walked around that area around Madison Square Garden. I was staying at the New Yorker. It was the one that's right opposite it.
Right.
And I just walked around that area and I was just listening to old school New York bands like Madball and being man, imagine being here in the late 80s, early 90s. Fuck.
Nice. Yeah. I do that. I have done that in the past. New York is a great place to do that. Another place I'd love to do that in is Boston. A bit like Aerosmith, Extreme, Boston, the band, actually kind of thing. Very old school there.
Dropkick Murphys, Converge, Botch.
Absolutely, all that kind of stuff. A lot of fun, and it is a great city. I feel Boston's kind of like Manchester to New York in a way. New York is that big place you go to in the U.S. Boston is kind of like that similar.
Yeah, from the vibes I've gotten from Boston, it seems like Boston and Philadelphia are kind of like the Manchester and Liverpool.
Ah, there you go. That's a good call.
And that are like the more relatable, full of more like relatable people. Like you're not gonna go there if you're super like rich banker type
Nice.
yuppies.
Yeah.
Call them.
I always feel like after that conversation we just had, you, me, and Ken Knapsack should do like an Oasis show somewhere, a podcast or something.
Me and Ken do it. Oh, me and Ken doing.
I love Oasis. I love Oasis actually too. To be honest with you, one of my favorite bands. Past them breaking up, so I never got really into like the solo project that Liam or Noel did. They're fine, but I never really.
The greatest feud in music history. Like people talk about Tupac and Biggie. No, the Gallagher brothers. The greatest. Like because it still goes on today.
And I always see like just when you think they might get back together for something, and it's like then nothing never happens. So.
And then we'll tweet Noel calling him the C word that we're not supposed to say on YouTube, like a vegan C word, and it's just like, what has being vegan got to do with it?
Yeah, I'd love to do something. I especially love their early albums for sure. I'm a big fan. I'm in the minority here. I'm very much in the minority, I know, but I love the overproduced sound of Be Here Now. Myself, I think it might be the Queen fan in me because it kind of feels like they're in the studio doing a lot of that kind of big studio sound compared to some of the drama stuff. We could talk about it later. This is not a Oasis podcast, though.
This is not a Brit rock podcast.
Not a Brit rock podcast. Maybe someday we'll do that. I don't know. I know Ken would love for to do that as well, but we'll get into that. But this is a Star Wars podcast. We did get to watch the Bad Batch penultimate episode, and that's not just the penultimate episode of the season, penultimate episode of the series. In fact, very emotional moment, I guess, for us in a way. Like it seems like I didn't realize. I guess I did realize how much I loved it, but like, now that we're ending, it does feel like there's going to be a hole there. This is a show that's meant a lot to me.
Hasn't hit me yet.
It kind of really hasn't fully hit me yet either. It was more like when I started thinking like next week is it. Not only it, but it's it. So, and I'm not, like I said in a chat at one point, I know that there's going to be another animated series. I'll probably fall in love with the other animated series as well. I just love what Lucasfilm does with the animated series. They seem to know what they're doing. I felt this way when the Clone Wars ended and Bad Batch was starting. I was not too excited about the Bad Batch. Here we are 3 seasons later. I'm almost as sad as it leaving as Clone Wars ending. So I know I'll probably love the next one, whatever it is, whether it's a Asajj Ventress Splinter, whether it's a Clone Rebellion arc with, whatever it is, I'm going to love it, I'm sure. But this one does hold a special place in my heart. I'm hoping we get the justice of a final good ending that the show deserves. And that's one thing I'm grateful about. It does get an ending. They did know this is the final season, so they got to end it on their own terms, which I like and I'm appreciative of.
Let's dig a little into that second, because you started saying something to me off show, and I said, Paul, shut the fuck up. We have a Star Wars podcast. We could be talking about this. And you didn't say this in any like derogatory or detrimental way. And I see people's points of this. You're not the only person to bring this up. In fact, you're probably the person that I've seen to bring it up most respectfully.
Can I actually let me put forth my idea on there, so in my words, whatever.
Yeah, go for it.
This is what I told Matty. This is the thing. While I'm not mad about it, I have a hard time. If I look at the running time next week and it's another 22-minute episode, 25-minute episode, I can't deny that I'll be disappointed. I am someone who tries very hard to take what the artist gives me, takes what the showrunners give me. It's their story. If they feel they only need such enough time to tell it, then that's for them to say. And who am I to judge? So I try not to judge. At the same time, after this week's episode, which I enjoyed quite a bit, we'll get into that in a bit, I feel like I want so badly for them to be like a 40-minute, at least 40-minute episode. Some people are putting for hour 2. I'm like, that's not going to happen. But give me a double episode, because I feel like we need the time to kind of say goodbye, to finish up some of the questions we have, the action-packed beats we need to have, and also to give us time to get in everything we want to get in. Now, could there be a chance of this could they do it in 20 minutes and satisfy me? Absolutely. And I'll be the first one to admit it if it does. But I will say, once I press play next week, if it doesn't leak beforehand. Sometimes the times leak beforehand. I press play and I see 23, 24 minutes. I'm going to be like, give me a 40-minute finale at least. Give me a double episode finale. So that was what I was trying to say to you. And I try to be positive on the podcast, positive with Star Wars. But that is something that definitely, you'll fight your negativities at times and you have negative feelings. But that's what I was going to be. That's what I put forth to Matty. So, Matty, give me your rebuttal.
Let's be clear about this. And when people say this, you're not being negative about the storytelling. You're being negative about the time allotted to this episode, which is more of a Lucasfilm, Disney kind of thing. They're probably, these things have budgets. They're probably only allotted a certain amount of time before, because let's face it, when you've got a show like X-Men 97 coming out on the same day, like people, you can't have like an hour-long episode of The Bad Batch and an hour-long episode of X-Men 97, because who has what normal person has the time in their day to do that? You and me do, because we have jobs where we can watch these things while we work. But my thing is this, and I'm going to be very careful how I word this. We as deeper, more diehard Star Wars fans, we have become accustomed to, and this is where I speak to the problem, my personal problem that I'm trying to get over with the whole connectivity of the storytelling, the marvelification of the storytelling, and that everything now seems to be leading into this next thing. This is no doubt going to lead into a further story with Omega. This is going to potentially lead into a further story with the clones, Cody, Rex, Wolf, etc. I feel like, and I'm not saying you are, I'm going to be careful how I word this. People are kind of allowing everything around it, like the whole, where did the lore of Emery Carr and Dr. Hemlock and their relationship, the lore of where is Cody at this time, and where Echo and Rex been at this time. I feel like they are, a lot of the fans, and I had to pull myself back from this because I was one of these people. They're allowing the wider picture, to the wider storytelling, which we should always engage with, and we should always think of the wider themes and the bigger story and the bigger picture. But at the moment, this is the show called The Bad Batch. And this is the end of the story of those 4 clones. We're gonna get more storytelling with Omega, but I don't think they're gonna kill the kid as much as Crosshair tried to, even in the first season when he said, "Aim your guns at the kid." I think Omega is safe at this point. I just think that we as Star Wars fans, like the deeper, not as surface level fans, have kind of allowed, and we do this every time, and we're never gonna learn. It's something I'm trying to condition myself out of. But we allow the overall. I mean, we even have a segment on it, right? Of the deeper lore that we want to know about. We've become so invested in like the smaller characters, like Emery, like Hemlock, like Rampart, and we're just like, we allow that to overshadow the crux of the story that is currently being told. Whereas George Lucas only meant these to be campfire tales, like stories that you would tell around a campfire, and you're bullshitting between friends, and you'd be like, "Oh, I tell you, I got this story about this time. You ever heard the story about these 4 random clones that weren't anything like any of the other clones? They went and took down an entire mountain that Palpatine was trying to clone himself in." And then we move on to another story, and I feel like the marvelification and the interconnectivity, while it is a great thing, and while we do like it, and I know you're a big fan of connectivity because you can have everything together, one big story, and everyone. You remember, these are also like little pieces. Think of it as like a bicycle tire, right? You got the hub, and you got all the spokes. These are like the different spokes connecting to the main story in the middle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when when I first started seeing people be like, "Oh, the next episode better be this is because I want them to explain what happened with it. Where did Emery come from? I want them to explain, what's happening with the Zilla Beast." I'm like, do we need to know that, or do we just want to know that? When in reality, like we're going to be so focused on that, we're not even going to consider like the closing of the chapter for the 4 clones that this show is about.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I gotta tell you, I will say, and I've thought about that myself as well. I do think that this is a case where I actually mentioned this before. I actually had the same argument, and I go back and forth with these things. Sometimes emotions can take you one way, or instant reaction can take another. When the Side Adventures came in, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, we don't know what happened. We didn't know how did she come back. We don't know. Is she even done? She hasn't appeared since. She had the 1 episode. She's the trailer. She had the 1 episode. She might come back in the finale. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't think we need her." Because exactly what you said, we don't need to know how she survived her book. What's the name of the book?
Dark Disciple.
Thank you, Dark Disciple. We don't need to know how she survived that and how she came back yet. Do we eventually need to know? Yeah, I think eventually, if we're going to continue telling stories with her, we should know what happened and why she's not dead. That's a definite important story to tell, but it is not an important story to tell for the Bad Batch. No. Absolutely.
And they've said that they're going to address
more with her. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing. I mean, I agree with you 100% that it always comes down to we have to tell a story, and everything that we have to tell has to serve this story. The story is the Bad Batch. And if anything doesn't serve the Bad Batch, it's extraneous and doesn't need to be told. I will say that there is also an interest. There's a middle ground here. I do feel like the way the storytelling has gone, that we have to have some kind of, if not finish, some kind of update and midpoint for Rex's revolution, so to speak, because we have dealt with that quite a bit over the course of this, and to have, if Rex and company aren't involved in the final battle of Tantus, or this final battle of Tantus, it would feel a little weird not to have that. Because that's what their goal was, to get Tantus free the clones, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of funny how this episode, which we'll get into in a little bit, is something more about freeing the kids, freeing Omega and freeing the kids. Luckily, we did see Echo scrolling through the clone, which is good to know the other clone prisoners there, which leads me to believe they're not forgetting it. But it would be kind of weird. Although, at the same time, what if we're all wrong and this is the final part of Tantus? Maybe this is just getting Omega out and they just free the kids in Omega. Maybe they didn't free the clone. Maybe they don't take Tantus down. Maybe that's a story for another time, potentially.
Put a pin in that thought in your head for later.
Okay, we'll do. I will put a pin in that thought for later. So it is a little bit of both me, and it is something I have to wrestle with, my instincts, as far as that goes. So whereas I go back and forth, my initial gut says I want a 40-minute episode. That's probably because I want a 40-minute episode. So I want to spend more time with these guys, right? But at the end of the day, if they deliver a solid, satisfying 22, 23-minute ending, then they deliver a 22-minute ending that I'm okay with.
Do you know what would be awesome? And I highly, highly doubt that this is going to happen. Highly doubt this is going to happen. This is like, if we were going back to our odds, I would put this at like 10 billion to 1 that the final episode is a feature length episode, because we haven't got an animated movie in a long time.
And they're saving that announcement till now, like after the episode's over.
Yeah, they like drop it. They're like, "Hey, congratulations, you have an hour-long episode of The Bad Batch."
I am still holding on strongly to the fact that we got 16 episodes. The first is 16 episodes in the second season, and 15 this time. And I kind of holding that that's a production thing. That's really 15 and 16 in one. That's by allocating the 2-episode time for the 1-episode finale.
It's interesting you say that, because I was also listening to Alex Damon saying about, the first episode was kind of not a feature length, but it was like the length of 2 episodes in 1 episode. Least, so that would be a kind of cool bookend to do.
Right.
Like the first and the last episode are like longer than all the others.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling that's more likely. Obviously, I am completely spitballing and speculating horrendously with the fact that it could end in a feature-length movie. I highly, 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 highly doubt that's ever going to happen.
Right.
But at the same time, we just like need to be prepared. And there's a reason I've asked you to put a pin in that Tantis thing.
Fair.
Because I'm going to come to that. But, you know, all I'm saying is remember who this story is about. It's not about Emery Carr. It's not about Vader showing up on Tantis. Hell, it's not even about Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
And to some degree, it's not even about Rex.
Yeah.
Is it a clone story? Yeah, but like, I would be more upset if this show ends and it doesn't complete the story of the Bad Batch itself.
Absolutely,
that would piss me off.
Absolutely, number one. It does some kind of finish.
And
finish doesn't have to be finished, by the way, just so we're out there. Doesn't have to be a final story. This doesn't have to be the last time we see the Bad Batch. It just has to kind of like
end this arc. End this
big arc. If at the end of the day, Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair all live in Omega, if they all live and they decide to go probably live happily ever after, or maybe Echo decides to stay with the Clone Rebellion, or if maybe Hunter changes his mind and they go, as long as it's like as a breaking point of the story, this is a end of a chapter kind of thing. That's what's more needed. And it could even be an ending of, to be completely honest, like I don't want it to end this way because I feel like it's not the best way to end it, but they ended it with just like they get Omega back and the end is the four of them go in adventures in space like the A-Team. Like they basically continue their lives that way. It's just like we don't get to see it at this point. I get that. That'd be kind of an okay way to end it because it's still kind of a happily ever after. They went on and lived their lives. But that's still technically an ending we could have.
The ending I'm leaning most heavily on is, and it's a tragic one, but it's the story of legacy. And I on the last Force Center live chat, I asked for a reason. I asked Joseph and Ken, and I think Jennifer was on as well. I was like, no, Jennifer had gone at this point. It was just Joseph and Ken. I asked, what do you think of the theme of legacy in this show? Because the ending I'm thinking of is the Bad Batch, the three that remain, four if you count Echo.
Right.
Which personally I don't, because apparently he's left, but still, the four clones of the Bad Batch, this is their final stand. They have helped Omega grow to the person she is going to become. They give their final stand for her to realize that she is part of something greater. And then we see her go off on her next adventure. And, you know, we see her wearing Hunter's bandana and
Crosshair toothpick.
And, you know, she's suddenly got jacked like Wrecker or something.
Absolutely. Pull the Mantel mix with her, maybe. No, I don't. That's definitely a final ending. I'm starting to lean away towards that more as we go because it still feels like there's going to be more of a happy ever after than I think.
Don't put that in your brain, dude. You know what these people are capable of.
I know, but no, I would think there'd be. See, the thing is, I think there'll be some stake, something will happen. There'll be some stakes. We'll lose somebody. There'll be some tragedy involved. But to lose them all, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't. I can't see them taking them all out. It just feels like too much, overwhelming in a way for this kind of show. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, and it's a big massacre and it's done well, hell, more power to you. And I'll cry, and I'll still applaud the tragic ending.
We'll both be crying.
Absolutely. But my own prediction, we got to pin in that too. We should get to send predictions at the end. But so let's save the prediction talk for the end of the episode. So you got to go through this episode first.
Yeah, I just felt it was good for us to like put that picture and like put it into perspective of like we need to remember who this show is about at the end of the day.
And it's a great statement and it's a great idea. And I need to tell myself that still. And every once in a while I tell myself that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know. What I want to happen and what they're going to give me might be two different things, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. They're telling me a story. It's up to me to take it in and try to take it in as they give it to me and not like put my own twist on it. Cause that's the path that leads to the dark side. So I will take it as it is. And I will just hope and be happy.
Look at me moving to the light because it was there. Are you proud of me?
I am very proud of you. Very proud of you indeed. All right. Before we get into the Bad Batch episode, there we usually do a bit of news. We don't have a lot of news this week. In fact, there's barely any at all.
Hence the discussion.
Hence the discussion. Yeah. Oh, filler, as they say. No, not filler. Enhancement discussion.
Careful. Someone gave you shit for using that once, remember? And I almost burned Twitter to the ground.
Oh, I remember quite happily about that. It was kind of a happy memory in a way. Actually, it's kind of funny because things go back. I let things roll off my back. So we do have one bit of news I wanted to discuss. Interesting little tidbit of information that I'm excited about. It is about the Acolyte, but don't worry. I already talked to Matty about it. Matty's still safe, I believe. You're still safe? You're still good to go, Matty?
I think so.
You're so good.
I think we're okay. Just talk it through. I'm going to give you a thumbs up when I'm ready, and I'm going to give you a sound cue here. So you go through and to tell us about the
Acolyte storyline. Yeah. I did pass it through Matt's attention, so he's aware of what I'm going to say. So the only bit of news I was going to talk about from StarWarsNewsNet.com, great little place where it curates all sorts of news. I suggest you go there all the time if you are interested in Star Wars news. This one, the headline was Vernestra Rwoh will have her light whip. It'll feature her light whip in live action. It's not any news that Vernestra Rwoh from the High Republic book series is going to be in the series. That's been talked about for a while. In fact, it's Leslie's, I believe, wife, definitely partner. I don't know if they were married.
I don't know if they're married.
I don't know if they're married or not either, but definitely partner was going to be playing Vernestra. And obviously, Vernestra's a lot older than she was in the High Republic era. So she's kind of a different Vernestra Rwoh. She's matured at this point. But ever since that announcement, there was kind of this question mark about the light whip, because in the books, she doesn't have quite the usual lightsaber. She basically has a lightsaber whip thing. So the question was, it is a different Vernestra. Does she still use the light whip to this day? And the answer is yes. Now, that's not a huge piece of news. It is more of a attachment to a overall story part that I want to talk about quickly, and something I'm very happy with. Leslye Headland, in the same article, Leslye Headland continued to discuss her vision or her influences, etc. And it is connected with the light whip to a degree. The first part is not. First part's a regular thing, which I just wanted to throw in there as well. She stated, Chris Teague, the cinematographer, and I talked a lot about honoring George Lucas's camera moves. I would say the original trilogy became our touchstone. Indy? Nice.
You're telling me choosing a character with a light whip and talking about honoring George Lucas's legacy. You're telling me we're not going to get some
Solo-esque some Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford,
some pointing, bro. What if Kiki Kwan said he wanted to be in Star Wars, didn't he?
He did at one point.
What if he shows up as like an alien, short-handed?
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I'd love that. I absolutely love that. I think they tried. I think at that point they would have to try to get Harrison Ford into an episode for a cameo.
Kiki Kwan is the acolyte.
That would be something for sure.
Oh, I don't ever want to see him play a bad guy.
I don't either. He's too joyous. He's too energetic. Too happy.
Nice.
It'd be ruined to be a Darksider.
That means he would probably be a really good one, because Giancarlo Esposito seems like the sweetest person.
That's true. A lot of the bad guys are really sweet, truly, and then it comes down to it. So maybe he's holding some dark side in him. Maybe we could pull something out.
Anyway, you were saying honoring George Lucas.
So so Leslye quoted saying, cinematographer Chris Teague and I talked a lot about honoring George Lucas's camera moves. I would say the original trilogy became our touch point for how to craft the world, while the episode oneness of the show is a bit more thematic. She continued on, and this is the part that kind of connects with the light whip and what I want to talk about briefly. It's a show packed with everything I wanted to explore. I wanted EU, expanded universe stuff in there, references to the original trilogy, the Phantom Menace, the Disney sequels. It's absolutely packed, because you never know, he may not get the chance again. Now, what I want to say about that specifically is that Leslye really is a big fan of the material it sounds like from everything, from the old EU. She mentioned the Disney sequels even, and she wants to touch base on it all. And that's exactly why she has the light whip there. I want to say, and this is no slight meant to any other creators in Star Wars. At this point,
Do it.
I'm not
Name names.
sure. No,
Fucking do it.
I'm not sure whether or not. Well, I mean, even okay. I'll name names. Dave Filoni, love Dave Filoni, the man in the hat. I love him to death. I don't think he.
Oh, I thought you meant YouTubers. That's why I was saying.
Oh, no.
Names.
I'm talking about Lucasfilm in general, storytellers. I love Dave Filoni. I don't think between me and him is not a negative thing. I don't think he is connected to the books and to like the games and things like that. I think he doesn't not like them. I just feel like he is someone who's going to do what he does, and it counteracts something from the books. Is where you get that kind of like the campfire tale situation we talk about, where different points of view. Some people take that way too seriously. And I guess I shouldn't say that, because if that's their own personal view. If it affects you, I don't want you to think that your point is not valid. For my own sake, I think we could all do with taking a little less seriously the fine tune things, as long as like the general story is there. You can have different things, like for example, Kanan in the Bad Batch versus Kanan in the comics, the Order 66. Not quite the same, but we gotta still enjoy both stories, and it's not like it's so off base that it can't follow the same direction. But I do think that Dave Filoni is not someone who really is as considered about like the books and the comics as far as when he goes to TVs and stuff like that. I feel like the quotes that I've heard from Leslye is she is very in tune with all the books and with everything else. I think she wants to cherry pick those elements from the books that are amazing, that she finds amazing anyway. Whether you find it amazing or not, we'll find out. But she's in tune with it at least. And I think she wants to bring this stuff in. And that's exciting to me, to see stuff like the old EU. Because the old EU, many people will say, especially a lot of people nowadays, have not a fond memory of it. Some people have a great fond memory of it. I have a fond memory of it. I think there's also a lot of shit in there. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of shit in the old EU, but there's a lot of goodness in the old EU. So if we can take some stuff from the old EU and we have the Leonardo DiCaprio moment of like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that makes sense. As long as it makes sense story-wise, as long as it makes sense with the characters, I'm all for it. And it's better to have that kind of full knowledge and be aware of everything going forward, to be able to pick and choose that kind of thing, and to ignore it. That's my own thing. It's not, I don't want anybody coming out and saying I'm being negative on Dave Filoni for doing it.
No.
I think Dave Filoni's done a wonderful job. It's just a different kind of tactic. And I'm here for Leslie's quotes on that.
Okay, so to your point, I had a feeling that Filoni talked about this. So I've been searching through while you've been talking. So Filoni said in an interview with Screen Rant, he said, people get into all these debates of what's canon and what's not, and sometimes forget the special nature of telling a good story and creating great characters. Part of the fan debate in the past always used to be what's canon in the past, but it's fucking going on now. Used to be what's canon and what's not, right? Because there was George, and we always knew George was the canon. I am the canon. Filoni continued, I look at it very broadly, and I just say there's a love of Star Wars because I knew George. I worked with him, and none of us are going to be him, but we love the galaxy he created, and we're very much a part of it, growing up with it. So I guess to me that's just broadly saying that he's like, he doesn't care. Not that he doesn't care. He doesn't mind. He doesn't necessarily care which medium the story is told in. It's kind of like I was just saying about the Bad Batch. Like, he doesn't really necessarily care about the medium of the story and the connectivity of it. He just, as long as the core themes and the story is there,
right,
he's good.
Right. I'm kind of saying the same thing too. I don't think he's like shitting on the comments or shitting on the books or anything like that. It's not like he's being negative towards them. No. He just has his own idea of how he wants to tell his story. And as long as he's not like I haven't never seen anything by him, and I know some people may argue, but I don't think I've ever seen anything on him that really like completely tears down anything that was written before. No. He has tweaked some things for sure. He has done a little bit of twisting and turning and things. And I know part of that was the Ahsoka book versus the Tales.
Yeah, of I think that was the big one.
I don't want to inviolate anybody's feelings on that. If you have a strong feeling on that, it's absolutely valid. As perhaps a white straight male, I didn't have the same reaction to it because I don't have those same attachments to it. I as an underserved populace, so maybe that has some validity that I can't speak on. But I don't think I would definitely argue that it was never his intention to tear anything down. He just wants to tell it in a slightly different way. especially if we have a whole book versus you have a 12-minute short animation speech kind of thing.
It seems to me that just from reading that quote and hearing you say it, I do think it does kind of just expand on your point a bit of just like it's like he also said when he got his new job, he was like, I don't want to touch anyone's story.
Right.
I'm just here to make sure it follows the core themes and
right.
This has always been his thing. He doesn't want to touch other people's stories. He just wants to make sure that the story is in line with what would George Lucas do.
Right.
We really need to get that on the t-shirt. But like, yeah, and I think you know, Leslye Headland creating her version of Star Wars. Cool. It sounds right up my alley. That's why I'm going through this. You know, keep Matty blind. You know?
Right. Absolutely.
Because it sounds like the kind of Star Wars that I would love to watch. So
same, absolutely same.
That creators create. Absolutely. I always have this issue when like labels get involved with bands putting music out and like they decide on the direction bands could take when they've never played a musical instrument in their fucking lives. It's just like, leave these people alone to tell their stories. You're just there to finance it and put it on your streaming service. Other than that, stay the fuck out of the writer's room.
110%. But all right, that's going to do it for our news bits. Like I said, not too much, unless you had anything else you.
No, it's not.
Okay,
two other news bits.
Oh, okay,
I want to get your opinion on this. Blue milk now being available to buy in supermarkets.
Really? Is it really? I'm not going to buy it.
Not the green milk.
Not the green milk. The blue milk.
Just the blue vanilla one.
That's interesting. That's marketing at its best. So it'll make Lucasfilm a little more money because I'm sure people will buy it. I'm sure it's not much different. I've had both milks that were available at Disney when I went there, and it's fine. It's good. Sure, bring it on. Why not? I don't think I'd ever search it out. If I saw it in front of me while I was in the store, I'd go, what the hell? Why not?
One day, you and I are going to do a blind taste test of blue and green milk. Right. And we got to guess which one it is.
Fair enough. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. We'll do it. Let's do it.
And the second thing is, you now have a Twitter claim to fame.
It is not news, but okay. No, I was very excited.
I had Tom Cruise. That has now been overshadowed.
Wow,
in the context of this podcast, me being followed on Twitter by Tom Cruise has now been overshadowed by the fact that you have David W. Collins as your new Twitter best friend.
My new Twitter best friend. That's right. We are now besties. He's going to be on any minute now. That was 10. I did. It is. I will fully admit to fanboying a little bit. Dave, when basically when I came.
Did you just call him Dave?
No, I started to say David and I stopped and went to when I went on the air with you or went and joined you 10 minutes before the show.
I thought you just called him Dave. I was like, holy shit, it's been 10 minutes. You guys that close already?
Yeah, you know. Well, of course. No, David is a wonderful. Obviously, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know who David is. I think the general populace might not know him as well. For example, I was talking to Jeff about it, just like, huh? Who? He's like, that's the producer for the Career Eye for the Straight Eyes. I'm like, no. I educate him.
Who said that?
That's cool. Jeff Alterman.
For fuck's sake, Jeff.
I know. Perfectly fine. And I'm sure actually we have some of our friends are followed by him too as well. So, but it was kind of cool. I responded to something. He responded. He made mention of the scene from last week's episode at the end, the negative scene, and he talked about how hard they worked on building the tension with the music, the rising, the alarms, they built it all together to this cacophony, and then
so that was the line that Jennifer Corbett was talking about then, about sometimes the one line comes together so perfect.
No, I don't know if that was, because it seems a different thing. This seemed like it, because she was talking about how it was said. He was talking more about the theme and the music stuff behind it, the sound effect thing and everything else, and how it all dropped away before Hunter says negative. And he said they worked really hard and he was really happy it came out the way it came out. I just responded and I said, hey, that's like a top 3 to 5. That's like a top 3 moment of the series for me. I loved it that much. That really got me going. I was like a fist bump moment. And that's all I said, was like chef's kiss. Next thing I know, right before I get on there, I just look up and he's following me. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. That's very cool to have someone like that follow me. again.
That was your drunk texting Tom Cruise that you want to talk about. You want to get hammered and talk about Scientology with him.
That's what it was. Absolutely. Speaking of David Collins, he actually posted, I guess Star Wars posted, I missed this from an hour ago, a clip from Tales of the Empire with Grievous. So I'll have to take a look at that. I'll look at that off air, though. We won't put that part of the news. We'll talk about it next week's news. But yeah, he's very happy with the series and can't wait for us all to experience it on May the 4th. Me too, David. So that being said, that is it for that. Let us turn our eyes and ears towards Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 14, Flash Strike. And as we always do it here on PLD Projects, if you haven't been here before, we always do things in segment form. We basically have breakdown of segments, and we discuss the episode that way for wrapping it up and leaving. This week, we always start with the same segment.
We start with it and we end the segment the same way every week. Just do it.
Who wants to see Hondo's book? Talk to me.
Hondo Watch 2024. Did Hondo Ohnaka appear in this series? The answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. I would say
this effort is no longer profitable.
You see this watch? You see this watch?
Yeah.
This watch is dead. And I'm starting to get the feeling the Honda watch might be dead as well.
I will say I have given up hope for him appearing in the Bad Batch. I don't think he'll be part of the cavalry. It would make very little sense to have him just pop up if Rex and company show up next week potentially or something. I can't see him just being there randomly as he hasn't been in an episode yet. Missed opportunity. I'll call it out for what it is. It's a missed opportunity. He's had plenty of opportunities to be in this show alongside Fee, alongside Sid. Anyway, he could have been there, but no. I know. Sid. Underworld. I'm mentioning Underworld people. Either way. So sad but true. I don't think we'll see him there. I think the next chance we're going to have to see him. The next chance we'll have to see him. We could see him technically in Tales of the Empire. I don't think we'll see it there either. I don't see any real idea there. I think our next possible shot is going to be Skeleton Crew. It's definitely not going to be the Acolytes. So he'll be in the Skeleton Crew, maybe live action. That would be my hopeful guess.
That would be perfect. That would be the ultimate way to end Hondo Watch.
Absolutely.
However, you're telling me you have a show where children are in need of rescue. And like the Wu-Tang Clan, Hondo Ohnaka is for the kids.
Right. He named his ship Katuni, after all, after the youngling.
We got one more episode. I'm all hope is good, but maybe that's what I need. Like all hope to just be gone. And then he shows up miraculously.
Yeah. I'm not holding out much hope. I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to have them trashed before my very eyes. So, all right, let's move on before I start crying. The Bachelor of the Week.
I was hoping for the whole squad, but you'll do.
We're going to talk about our favorite character of the week. It doesn't have to be a member of the crew. Could be a member, anybody. Could be an Imperial. Could be a whatever Batcher is, or that kind of creature is. I can't remember the next Hound or whatever.
Where is Batcher?
He got left behind on Pabu. I had that same realization. I gotta say, last night watching the episode, I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't seen Batcher. Where is he? Oh, he didn't make the journey when they left Pabu, probably to go to, because he has no place to go. I can go to Coruscant on an Imperial station with Batcher on board. They have to leave the ship behind. So I'm assuming that Batcher must have stayed on Pabu. Sad. We're not going to see Pabu. We're not going to see Batcher again unless they decide to have some kind of like aftermath at Pabu. Who knows?
Well, we know there's going to be an epilogue. So.
That's true. My new best friend did tell me that.
My new best friend did say that.
David W. Collins, he tweeted that, I think, or something.
Not D. Bradley Baker, as I said.
You said that in chat. I'm going to put it out. You said that in our PLD Projects chat. That D. Bradley Baker had said that. And I looked at your comment on that. In my head, I thought it was David W. Collins, but I could be absolutely wrong. I'm getting old. Maybe he's right. So I didn't say anything about it. We came out and I was like, no, it was absolutely David W. Collins. So, it's going to be an epilogue next week, which could be the happily ever after part where they go to Pabu and we see Batcher licking Wrecker's face. We'll find out.
Getting hyped up.
But who is your favorite character of the week this week?
I hate this because it usually means that something bad's going to happen. It's Echo.
I saw a tweet before you get into why. I saw a tweet from somebody. I don't know who it was, but it was like it was like, Echo's had a lot of screen time the past 2 days. The big smiley face. Echo's had a lot of screen time the past 2 days. I think I'm like, that's absolutely true. That's not good. That's not good.
Echo is the one that is currently in the base. Echo is the one that.
I'm not sure about that.
Everyone's on Echo is in the base too, I guess. Okay, fair.
And is also apparently in the same room as me. He is also the one that essentially is going to break out the kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one making the awesome dad jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Something bad's about to happen, so I'm gonna give him this award every chance I get.
That's a good point. That's absolutely a good point. I will say they addressed your concern about Echo walking around without a hand this week.
He finally did get a second hand. Get it? Second hand.
Thanks for giving my hand there, RA. Making the dad jokes, but yeah, I know. I totally get it. Echo definitely had his moments this week, and it's good because ever since he it always feels like Echo's been on the outside. Like he was the last to join. He
left the crew,
and then he left the crew. So it's always been like, you think about the Bad Batch, you don't really always think about him, but he's a great character. And to be honest, like if this is the end of the clone story, let's say that, like if this is going to be the end of the clone story, it does make sense because Echo is one of the first ones we actually got to meet. That was like really the one of the more unique ones that lasted throughout everything. We know obviously Rex was there and everything else, but Echo was one of those first ones we actually got to handle, part of the Domino Squad there, and the last living one at this point. It'll be an interesting way to close out, to have with one who we opened up with, so to speak.
If Echo Base is not named after Echo the clone, I will lose my shit, because that piece of story it's so right there. It's literally like smacking you in the face to do.
It is legitimately more there in your face than the old man Rex in Return of the Jedi. So I agree with you that this should absolutely be.
It's like George mentioning the Clone Wars.
Right.
How nearly 50 years ago.
Is there a chance that they actually named him Echo based on that?
Possibly.
I mean, it could
maybe
be.
Maybe they came up with the name and then they were just like, Echo Base. We could work that into this.
I do have some good news for you. It's not a spoiler, but like if you think about it, just thinking about it logically, even if they don't specifically say that ever in any kind of media, there's no way they're going to disprove that in any way either. So it can always be safe in our headcanon no matter what.
It's like the old man Rex in Return of the Jedi, right?
Right.
Like Filoni came out and he's like, it could be him. We're like, no, that is him.
Right. Yes, I can ever see a story where they go, oh, we named this after this other Echo. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I can't see them ever doing that. So safe in our heads, I think that Echo Base was named after Echo, and that's what we have. That's all I can say about that.
I just want the shot of Rex hammering like a wooden sign into the crowd that says Echo Base.
Echo Base.
And put a drawing of Echo on there. Anyway,
just his hand. All you need to do is like the hand, and you know who it is.
They put his hand on top of his bike instead of the 501st helmet. That
is almost disrespectful, but funny, and I'd be here for it. I would actually be here for it. So,
who's your match of the week before I lose my shit?
My match of the week, actually, honestly, someone I've thought about for a long time. It is going to be Emery. Carr. Didn't have a lot to say. But she did prove my theory from way back when. Legitimate. She is going to help. Well, feels like that anyway. Sounds like it. She intimated that she's going to be helping Echo break the kids out. She made her face turn, so to speak, if you're looking at pro wrestling at this point. Their music came out and she went there. I was happy to see it finally happen. I'm also happy to see it wasn't like a big clutch dramatic moment. Like I feel like sometimes shows can overdo that and make it like be a case where she has to turn because it's a really dramatic moment, like it's either live or die, and they build the music up and it's like, but this is kind of a low-key subtle way to do it. she just recognizes her brother and just starts a conversation, and she gets there. She's always kind of been there, but I feel like she's always kind of been there, but she's never had the support to do anything about it. Like, she doesn't want to do this with the kids. Obviously she's been that pretty clear, but she has Leslye who's in jail. She has Omega who's in the vault. What can she do? She doesn't feel like she can do anything. All of a sudden you give her an out, a potential way to help, and she's on board. And I like where that goes. I like where that goes quite a bit.
I will say I am leaning more towards her helping than I was before, and I will explain why later, but I have started to come around to I think she will be a help. Maybe not the help. She's not going to be the cavalry, but she's going to be a help in the end of the story.
Agreed. I do want to throw it out there as more of a temper our expectations. And that not just our expectations, but the world's expectations. It could quite be like, I think some of you have said that before and everything else. You've said it before. The cavalry coming might just be the Bad Batch coming to rescue Omega. That could be the cavalry arriving. I think everyone and their mother assumed initially, like, oh, it's going to be a Rebels finale, a star-studded event. Rex is going to come with all the clones, and that's the cavalry coming to save the day, kind of thing. It could simply be the cavalry is the Bad Batch coming to save Omega and get and the clones. And if that is the way, and it's done well, I'm okay with that. Sure, I'd like to see Rex and crew. Absolutely, would love to see the whole big final, big ass finale. Have them all be there, but maybe it serves a story better to not be there.
I am holding on to that because I do think that could very well be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But I did notice Echo spent a lot of time splicing in the terminals this episode. Like, he did it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say he didn't just send the message out to Rex? Like, I mean, if Crosshair could do it from inside the base,
yeah, absolutely. He definitely could have done it. I'm going to hope that's the case because I hope it's the case. This is kind of a weird hope. Why is that? If it is the case, and we don't have to waste any time next episode of doing that, they could just show up and go, "Oh, how'd you know? I sent a message." Okay, great. Instead of having to go find a place to send a message and take up that precious time to do so, I'm better with saving the time having already done it and go from there. But yeah, so I did like Emily a lot. Emily didn't have a lot of time this episode. She wasn't like in there a whole lot. I considered Omega. I considered Hunter at his action-packed skills in this episode. I definitely consider Rampart again. Not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, I think that Emery hit me the most. So that's what
excuse me.
We'll get there. We're gonna get there. Next up on our list, I spec.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
Favorite lines of dialogue this week. I'm gonna go first in this one if you don't mind. It is actually the Emery line that maybe grant her Bachelor of the Week. One word. Echo. The way she delivered that, like, gave me chills. It's just a stormtrooper. His hand, he recognizes one of her brothers, and maybe she has more of a history. The Bad Batch you'd even know potentially. And all she does is say Echo, because she put two and two together, knowing that, stormtrooper is where he's not supposed to be. She's smarter than your average bear. Most of the Imperials like, get out of here. You're not supposed to be here, or whatever. Not a deal. She knows who it is, knows why he's here, and very quickly says, she obviously does do the, I'm the boss. I was just following orders line, but she quickly falls into place and says she's going to help out Echo. But just that one inflection from Castle Hughes there as Emery just broke me. So.
It also leads me to think that Emery might not be as special as we initially believed, because the way that Echo is talking to her, there had to have been some like female clones on Camino, because he said it with such certainty. He was like, "You're a clone," like, because you bring up that she was saying, "I just did my job," which is essentially her version of "good soldiers follow orders."
Right.
But, like Echo said, he was like, "You're a clone, and you're a part of this."
Right.
Which led me to believe, like, maybe there was experimentation of like a female version of the clones for other roles, for the scientist roles, for, like, I don't know, maybe like more medical positions. I don't know. But she could be like special in that she was taken away went to Hemlock because she was going to be discarded. She went to Hemlock, blah blah blah. But we know that there's been so many experiments that there probably was female versions of cloning done just so they could figure out, what could we do with a female version of Jango Fett?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree in that she might not be as important as I initially thought. That was
not as important, but like not as like
there's not some big reveal or big.
Yeah,
I know everyone's important, and she's actually very important to the story, especially if she's going to help Echo out there at the end. But I definitely think we put a lot on her potentially because it was kind of strange having a grown adult clone and the way she was revealed. And I will say, I will blame the storytelling a little bit on that. The storytelling definitely, this wasn't a case of Star Wars fans like looking too far into something. I will say the storytelling definitely lended that atmosphere out, perhaps too much. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes storytelling, like when you're a storyteller and you're creating art, sometimes you don't realize how you're coming across as much as you think you do. As much as you think you are. And so in this case, perhaps they came across in a way that they didn't actually intend. But definitely to me, the storytelling came across as she was supposed to be. There was supposed to be something more there because we've never had a female clone outside of Omega before that. And now that the first time we've seen a female grown up clone. So it led to a lot of speculation, obviously. When you're that kind of a special thing, unique thing, you expect something maybe more. Is it okay if it's not? Absolutely. Absolutely okay if it's not.
But it goes back to us being like in-depth Star Wars fans. Like we analyze everything, literally every little thing that we see on screen. We're like, what's that?
100%.
What was that? What was that? What was that? What was that?
Absolutely. So, yeah. So there we go. Well, that's where we're going to go with for that. Let's go to our next. Oh wait, you got your line. You haven't done your line. We didn't do your line yet. I almost skipped right ahead. I skipped over you.
This is the other half of that conversation.
Okay, great.
Echo. Thanks for the hand.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
He's not even sure about that. Are you sure about that? Listen, he kills the droid.
Right. Yep.
A droid that sounds oddly like Tarkin.
It does. You know why? Steven Stanton voices Tarkin. Maybe that's why.
I wonder why Hemlock had that droid program to sound like that. There's neither here nor there. Thanks for the hand. Right. This is gonna like blend. Screw it. I'll come up with a different bit of lore. How long did it take Echo to realize he could do that?
That's a great question because, quite frankly, you would think he'd have a hand before then.
He walked onto that Imperial station. No second hand. Just like, screw it. Pluck it. If I get caught, I get caught.
He held the gun over it. That's what it was. I noticed that he was holding the gun over it.
He just scomplinked. His scomplink like fit right into the hand.
Right. So he could have that the entire time.
And he just now thought as well, like, this is a thing that we've like always been going on about, right?
Right.
Why have the Bad Batch never just slipped into clone armor whenever they've been sneaking around? They do it now.
Yeah.
But they do it with Stormtrooper armor
at the end.
clone armor. And they do it one episode before the finale of the whole show.
Right. That's funny. Oh man, absolutely.
But mine is the 80s action one-liner. And there were a lot in this episode.
There were. I could definitely see Schwarzenegger saying that.
Thanks for the hand.
Thanks for the hand.
I feel like that's more of a Sly line.
Maybe. That could be. Thanks for the hand. And mine are very bad persons. All right, let's move on then to our next subject there. Put that in your holocron and snoke it or explore more lore.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Or we take something from the episode and we want to expand on it, expound on it in different ways. Maybe a book, maybe a comic, maybe a future episode, maybe something else entirely. Was that your expand? Was that the Echo in the Hand? Is that part of your
you know what? I do have another.
Okay.
It's just what of all the clones that are kind of like all the clones we've seen are starting to like come round to the thinking of maybe we were in the wrong with Order 66. Like maybe we've been on the wrong side of history here.
Right.
Scorch seems so conditioned, like beyond. It seems like the inhibitor chips at this point have worn off naturally.
Right.
Like a lot of them haven't had them taken out. They've just started to like degrade naturally. Scorch is so militant still.
Right.
Of he's like, nah, I'm Empire all the way, baby. Like,
Right.
fuck them clones. Like, I'm gonna
Them clones.
I'm gonna kill Clone Force 99 as
Right.
soon as they arrive.
Right.
I'm just like,
Absolutely.
bro, what happened? Bro, who hurt you?
Very
Scorch,
true.
who hurt you?
Or somebody hurt him, and I don't know who it is. But you're absolutely right on that. Good call there. All right, for myself, I kind of want to see more of a future thing than anything else. But I'm hoping that Jax makes it out. I kind of want to see Jax and Eva and crew. I want to see what happens to them afterwards. Do they stay together? Do they go to the path? Do they do so? I don't know, but I'd love to see what happens afterwards.
What if they're in Skeleton Crew?
Well, they wouldn't be kids at that point. They'd be too old. The
little
Skeleton
one
Crew takes
would.
place after Return of Jedi. Well,
The little one might be.
Baron wouldn't. That's true. Baron might know.
Mm.
I feel like it's like 10 years. Isn't it kind of? Well, it's like, because the Civil War is like 5 years. We're about 5 years out. So it's probably about 10 years. That's their own. Maybe. Now you don't want to go. That's an interesting idea. That's an interesting idea for sure.
Just something to think about.
Depend that, yeah. Well, I want to see because I want to see what they do afterwards. I kind of feel like Jax could be a good member of the rebellion potentially down the line.
I've been far too logical this whole show. I'm gonna go over to your side a little bit and just randomly spitball ideas.
I love it. Go to it. Just go out there. Go nuts. Who cares? Well, as long as like I said, speculate responsibly is a very strong point we follow from Great Knapsack and
Try to.
Scrimshaw. This is Jennifer Land of the Force Center podcast. We love listening to them. We try to. But I like to amend that always. And sometimes I like to speculate irresponsibly. And as long as I can do that, knowing that my irresponsible speculation has almost zero chance of coming through, but it's just kind of fun discussion. That's okay. But yeah,
I think it'd be a fun episode if we, like, after Bad Batch is done, if we go to the episode where you read out all the odds. Or we go back and revisit the odds.
You will. Maybe that's what we'll do after that. We do have our Tales of the Empire episode probably right after that. The Bad Batch ends, but after that, we could potentially go back and go and do a Bad Batch, like a recap, so to speak. Not recap or a look back or whatever.
If we ever get to the point where we have an editor, right?
Yeah.
We need, if there's ever like an episode where we're like off for a couple of weeks,
right.
We need an episode where we get someone to edit every single thing that we have predicted and we have just been miles off.
Just a picture of us doing it and then they show what actually happened.
Yeah,
I love it. That's fun. That would be great. Alrighty then. Let's move on to seen a lot of action.
A lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
This is where we talk about our favorite action pieces of the week, and there are quite a few action pieces this week. Why don't you go ahead and give us a go?
It's gotta be the same one, right? The crash landing.
That might be. Yeah, you know what? It's getting off the ship. Is basically what I said.
It seems to be, if like a running theme of Star Wars now of, if you're in trouble, just crash the ship. Like, you might die. You're probably not gonna die, but
right.
If you run into trouble, just like crash the ship. The dogfight was so sick because it started literally as soon as they jumped out of hyperspace. They were like, "Oh shit, they've caught us!"
Right.
And he even hit the Maverick maneuver. I'll hit the brakes and he'll fly right by.
Yep. And it did also, by the way, the turn he did while they're following him down, he turned as like falling and turn and like starts firing them. Oh, chef's kiss, Hunter. Hunter don't give a fuck. He'll do whatever. He's like he is definitely, someone said he's a passenger princess. I guess he knows what he's doing more. He wants to yell at more. Hunter as passenger princess. I'm here for it. The whole bit there. There's a lot of action going on right from the get go. We started right away. I gotta say, is fun. to talk about is fun too. Like once the Bad Batch intro happens, also we burst into the music. And I was like, oh, here we are. This is it. It's go time. It's action music right away. We talked about last week. Are they going to start with the action? They're going to start with a quiet scene with Omega. Nope, they start right with the action.
Holy shit! I just realized something with the music.
Oh yeah,
but that's going to be a Force vision. Keep going, keep going. I just had like a light bulb moment.
Light bulb moment. Okay. Well, then I don't have much to say about it. Actually. The action pieces, they're all great there. I mean, getting off the ship was the most fun part for me. When the cables getting connected and Rampart being dropped around like a ragdoll a little bit.
Great comedic. Like this show does like comedic action. Like you go back to like old Jackie Chan movies, he would always do the same thing, right? Of like he would throw a punch and then he would turn and be like he would always make the same face. Like he'd do like the one turn with his neck and be like,
right,
and then he'd like duck. That Jackie Chan style comedic action.
Right.
This show does it so well.
Very well.
Like,
and I love it.
You mentioned the bit with the cables, right?
Right.
Rampart gets stuck. So Hunter just pulls out his blaster and shoots the cable. Funny how Rampart survived that. The Tech didn't.
That's true. It's so true. By the way, speaking of tech, real quick, guys, give it up.
The dream is dead.
It's over. Like, I've been saying this the entire time, but I really think you got to give it up. Like I was seeing like people tweeting and Jennifer Corbett's thread, like, so Tech's still gonna live, right? And it's like, dude, like,
where are the CX clones though?
That's a good point. We haven't seen them at all. Maybe they're going to be part of the big defense as they get into the base itself. All right, let's move on then to our next bit there.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. Our favorite comedy moments of the week. I might as well just go ahead because it's the same part there. It's part we were just already talking about it. The screams.
Oh my
God. Rampart scream by voice actor Noshir Dalal as a Vice Admiral, now Captain Rampart.
Who also does the voice of Bode in Bode Akuna in Jedi Survivor.
I've been reading that as well. He's getting to be a good Star Wars voice actor. My God, that scream. Jennifer Corbett said kind of like the Wilhelm scream that's just going to start catching up to it, perhaps. And I could see it happening because it was so shattering, like early ear shattering, but so funny. Because Hunter didn't give a fuck. He's like, the cable, he started to shoot the cable.
As someone who screams into a microphone, Nishia probably had the greatest time he has ever had just recording those screams over and over. Because they were, and I'm going to expand on it. I'm actually going to give your man his flowers this episode. Okay. The whole roasting of, and this is actually going to lead into my fourth vision. The whole roasting of Rampart was the funniest shit of this episode. Like, there was the moment where Wrecker and Crosshair have this really deep moment, and the Crosshair's talking about how he wouldn't want to break in or out of Tantis because it's not a place you forget. You see the hand tremor as soon as he starts talking about Tantis. You see the hand tremor. They have this, and he's talking about how Omega didn't let him down, so he's not going to let her down. What breaks this really deep moment is Hunter appearing and Wrecker saying, "Did Rampart make it?" And Hunter saying, "Unfortunately, yes." And not like, "Unfortunately, yes." It's just like, "Unfortunately, yes."
I heard that.
Like, he knows he's joking and he knows that Rampart's behind him and can hear him.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Crosshair had a really good moment as well, because there was the moment where, and this is also going to lead into my fourth vision, where like him and Crosshair are having this discussion, and Crosshair, he says to Crosshair, it's like, "You're loyal to, whoever, you follow orders." And Crosshair says, "Depends on who's giving them."
Right.
And he's like, you're out for yourself. And he's just like, "I've changed."
Yeah.
And it's just like this constant roasting of Rampart. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Just kind of like big brothering him, just like, "Shut the fuck up. Like, we don't even know why you're here."
And that's why I considered him for my Patcher of the Week, because he just adds a great element to the show with them together. Like, it's just roasting. It's just fun. Like, I know they have like someone to unite against who's actually there with them. They can actually like lash out on. But he's so funny and he makes up for it. He's not a great person, but he's a great character. And that's what's the good thing about
He's
it.
a great shit weasel.
Absolutely.
You even have the moment where the stormtroopers are chasing them down and he screams.
Right.
And it's like he screams and runs off in another direction.
Right.
And the stormtroopers walking that way. They're like, oh, there's the Bad Batch.
Right.
Like, Grandpa, you fucking moron.
All right. What about you? Do you have anything more specific, or are you sure?
No, that was it. Really, it was it was just the roasting of Rampart was just endless comedic enjoyment.
All right, let's move on to our next subject here. We usually do this earlier in the show. I kind of skipped it because I kind of like maybe trying to try it later on. We'll see how it works. Maybe we'll do this more permanently. This one is mission briefing.
What do you need, Rex? Any chance I could use you for a mission?
This is where we basically talk about the show, the basic generalities. We've gone through some more specific segments already. Let's talk about the show, the rest of the show in general. Obviously, there are 2 parts going on. We have the crew breaking onto Tantus or making their way to Tantus, and we have Omega with the kids. Echo, of course, being a kind of a story C to a degree, Echo and Emery a little bit. A couple things I wanted to point out. I did love Omega. Again, she made that more of a great transition into adulthood where she's the leader. She's not going to wait for her brothers, but she's confident that they're coming, but she's also not going to just sit on her ass and wait for them to come. She's going to be proactive and continue her journeys. I did love that line. This is actually one of my other favorite lines of the week was when she sat there and you're like, they're coming. And you're like, well, who? My brothers. As they start hearing the bombs overhead and everything else. Love that. She does go into the walls that she created. All the elevators are kind of whipping around her. I got to say, I wasn't a huge fan of that. I like that she has action. I like that
that was so Mission Impossible. How could you not have loved that?
I did, but I didn't see because at the end of the day, it felt like it didn't do a whole lot. I guess she does come back and she does have a plan. There's the big moment in there, but I kind of felt like that was to me, it was like that was they went through a whole lot of that just for that moment. And it kind of seemed like a little bit of a disconnect for me. But let's get that out of the way. It's back. The Zillow Beast is back. She did come across the Zillow Beast in there. I'm excited about that. It made sense.
Zillow Beast?
A while.
Or Zillow Beasts?
Was there more than
I thought I saw 2.
Wow. I didn't even.
This is again purely irresponsible speculation. The roar of the first one was a lot lower pitched than the roar of the second one.
I'd have to go back and watch it.
If there's a mommy and a daddy Zillow Beast in that tank and we get more than one, if we get an Ace Ventura apartment scene like I've been asking for, but it's just all Zillow Beasts. If we get like a Zillow Beast, like a bunch of Zillow Beasts that's like bursting out of Tantus, and suddenly we hit.
I gotta say, I thought that was confirmed. Jennifer Corbett does her cryptic tweets of the week before the episode, and that was one of the cryptic tweets she had. It was the Jurassic Park water scene. I was like, we're definitely in Zillow Beast tonight. That's got to be it. It's got to be the only way. But yeah, I love seeing. I'm glad because I know the fans have been like really pushed and hoping to see him again.
Oh yeah.
And it makes sense. Absolutely. Whether we're going to see Wrecker ride the Zillow Beast, I don't know. Maybe we get to see Omega ride the Zillow Beast. That could be a possibility.
You saw Wrecker jump on that. I know the name of the creature, but I can't think of it at the top of my head. I have seen it before. That was a direct setup because he jumped on it and tried to ride it, and it just bucked him off.
Right.
If that wasn't a prelude to Wrecker jumping on the back of a Zillow Beast and riding it like a mechanical bull,
what are we even doing here? Right.
It's always Wrecker that fights the big beast.
Right, that's true.
He's the one that said there's always the giant monster.
I wonder if the Zillow Beast is the cavalry.
Probably.
That could be it. Like Omega just breaks out the Zillow Beast. They start running a rampart on the rampant, not rampart, rampant.
But what better way to end Wrecker's arc? The man who said there's always a giant monster.
Mm-hmm.
Then instead of fighting the giant monster, he's riding the giant monster.
I would love it. I mean, I would absolutely love it. I'm just glad to see the Zillow Beast, though, for sure. That's definitely been a big thing. obviously, that's what they reintroduced him for back in a couple was it second season? Yeah, second season. We've been leading up to this ever since, so it's obviously going to have a big part to play for sure. But anyway, going back to the thing, I didn't hate it. It just, I don't know, it felt like a little, like she watched, she saw this, and then she kind of came back and again beat Scalder, beat Scalder back to her cell. It was okay. It was a little bit off for me, but overall, it's not the end of the world for sure. I did like the kids attempting to do their best to like try to stall, and they're so bad at it because they don't know how to do it. They don't know what they're doing. Like this is like not their wheelhouse at all.
What kid hasn't used the "I'm not feeling too good" excuse for something?
Right. I am hungry. I am hungry. Oh, can I go next? All good stuff though. That was a fun part there. But mostly it's for me. It was Omega again showing her leadership and again setting us up because she does have a plan now. She says she has a plan. She's not sitting there waiting for her brothers to get there. She's using her brother's attack as a way to kind of cause more chaos and make her way out of there with the kids. She made that quite clear. She's bringing the kids with her, like not hide. Yeah, so that was it. Anything else about the Omega story? Part of the story you want to take back down? Or?
No, not really. I feel like we've kind of started to dial back the Omega storytelling, and like again, we're focusing more on the Bad Batch, which is adequate because I think we're going to get more of Omega in the future.
I agree too. We've made our step forward was Omega making that journey from like naive kid to, as my son actually put it watching, he loves the fact that she has grown experienced, but she hasn't grown cynical. Like she's not naive anymore. She's definitely not a naive person anymore, but it hasn't made her negative. She's always still very positive, still trying to help everybody out. It's not something you see all the time. A lot of times the experience will turn a naive person cynical and negative and bitter. She's not any of that. Despite everything that she's gone through, she's still very positive. Still, I'm going to help everybody out I can because it's the right thing to do. And it's a unique place to be. But we've hit that now. That's the pinnacle. I think that's one of the pinnacle arcs that the Bad Batch has been about, is that join. Yes, we're going to hopefully get more time with her later on in a different series or different canon tales, perhaps. And that can be a different part of her journey. But we've done that now. So now it's just basically nowhere else for her to go except for to get out with her brothers, with her dads, so to speak. So yeah, I agree. Touching base again, the other part of the story was Echo breaking into the base and talking to Emery. We made that mention before, where Echo kind of run around, plugged into
his special security patrol.
What?
Echo with his special security patrol of one person.
Come on now.
I don't know.
Come on now.
Shut up.
You got to unplug your Echo next time we talk about Echo. But no, but I guess the one thing I do want to say is interesting is that we mentioned the conversation between Echo and Emery, where Echo really slowly convinced her to bring it down. But it was actually a great part of Emery's arc as well. It was about the children, and he tells her that that Omega is in the vault, and she mentioned the children, and Echo was like, "What are you talking about, children?" And she's like, "Yeah, they're children down there, and you're going to need my help to do it." And that kind of states that where she's going to go down and hopefully help them through it. This is not a Force Vision. I'll predict this real quick. I think we're going to get an Emery versus Scalder showdown. I think Emery's going to kick some ass. That's my own personal thought on that, potentially.
I thought Jax was just going to like punch her in the gut. And then
I thought that might be a case too. I thought that might be a case too. Like you're going to risk the isolation again, aren't you, Jax?
They're going to Kevin McAllister her.
Wouldn't that be so sad if Jax like punched her in the gut and then she puts him in isolation and all the kids escape except for Jax who's in isolation? That would be awful. That'd be awful. But yeah, so Echo had a lot of humor going on to him. We got to see a lot of the clones. I'm really glad. I want to point out again, I mentioned this before, that when he was going through the database, he saw a lot of the clones. I didn't slow it down to see who was in there. Like I'm wondering if I saw Cody in there or whether I saw anybody else in there. But you got to see that a bunch of clones were there. So we're obviously not just having.
I'm sure Alex Damon was there translating every bit of Arabic that he saw.
Probably. Good for him too. I'll be awaiting that video, Alex, for sure. So what else we got? We got, of course, the action-packed beginning, when she kind of broke it down already for the most part. Anything else we need to say about that aspect of it?
No, really. I feel like we can get to the final bit because I feel like I've got something pretty damn important.
Okay, let's do it then. Parsecs.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
It's out of less than 12 is 11, because we always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. What do you rank this episode on a scale of 1 to 11 there, Matty?
I'm giving this a 10.5.
Nice.
Because this show, as we are now getting, and this is the important thing that I wanted to put out there, we are now getting everything that we have come to love from this show in these episodes. We are getting the humor. We're getting the camaraderie. We are getting the high-paced action.
Right.
We're getting the shit weasel villain. We're getting Omega realizing her purpose and her potential, which is something that we've always known and that she has slowly started to figure out for herself from being that snot-nosed little kid that wanted to hang around the batch on Camino. She's now a grown young woman who is taking control and taking charge of herself. With these last two episodes, we are really getting the crux of what this show has always been at its core. When none of the lights and the dribble and any of this is the core story, and we're really getting it in these last few episodes.
Right. I don't disagree with you. I will give this. I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 11. It's the same thing. I mean, I don't have any reason to mark it down any lower. Just that I think I'm saving I think next week's going to kick my ass. I think it's going to be a great finale. I really am looking forward to finale next week. This was a very, very great episode. I guess I might have wanted a little more. But again, it's not what I want. It's what they give me. And it depends really. If next week it sticks to landing like I think it should, this might retroactively make this one better. It's not even better. I got 9.5 out of 11. It's not bad. It's not it's bad at all. It's very good, very fun. But that's what I'm going to land on for now. But let's move on to our final segment.
Premonitions.
Fourth visions, where we take this is our prediction time, our speculate responsibly or irresponsibly. Matty, the floor is yours.
You go first. I've gone first quite a bit this week, so
okay, all right.
I'll let you go.
I think I already mentioned some of it. I think we're going to get a big fight between Emery and Scalder, and I think that's what's going to end up being the day. I think we're going to get the end of the day. It's going to be a smaller story. I do think Rex shows up. I think Rex and company do show up, and I do think we get an answer to not an answer to some of those questions. We do get them. If they don't, they're obviously not going to completely shut down Tantus, because obviously we know in Mandalorian time the project Necromancer is still going. So we might not get all of it shut down. We're going to get the clones out, though. The clones are going to get out. The kids are going to get out. We're going to get that kind of happy ending. I think we're going to lose one. I don't know who necessarily it could be. It could be Hunter. It could be Crosshair.
You want to do a Deadpool?
Could be Echo. We could do a Deadpool. We should do that after Fourth Vision. Let's do an actual Deadpool. And I do think we're going to have a big moment. I don't think we're going to get any other big guests. I don't think we're going to see a Vader. I don't think we're going to see a Saj or anything like that. I think this is going to be a purely small scale clone story. No Boba, which I will say it's a missed opportunity. A little bit of missed opportunity.
I would agree with you on that one. I'm not having Boba at this point.
It feels weird. It feels like this is the perfect place to have at least an episode dealing with that. Although maybe that's going to be the future as well. Who knows? Those future storytelling is always there. But I feel like I'm going to be satisfied at the end. That's my first vision. I'm going to be satisfied with what they give us. That's my best way I can put it. How about you, my friend?
I feel like you're going to be satisfied with my Force Vision too.
Okay.
Notice how all this roasting of Rampart, all this demeaning him, all of this putting him down, making him feel like he's nothing. You're demoted. You're in a captain's uniform when you were a vice admiral. I think from next week he's going to be running the whole show of Operation Necromancer, because I think Hemlock is going to bite the bullet in some way.
Right.
Maybe he screws up and Palpatine is the one that. But I just get it, because notice how like he fell and
Right.
he's looking up at the clone troopers. He didn't look too worried.
Yeah, no, you're
It
not
was
wrong.
almost like of a, ugh, shit. All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Hemlock also has this. His ego betrays him.
Right.
He's very quick to reveal what he's working on when it suits him, when he's in the position of power and he feels like he's got the one up. He will reveal he's probably the worst person to play poker with, because like he probably has so many tells.
Right.
When he has Rampart, who is essentially like his rival in the grand scheme of the Empire, of like them jockeying for position.
Right.
When he has Rampart where he thinks he wants him, and he's just like, oh, well, this is my plan. Not that you're going to be around to do anything about it.
Right.
It's the core theme of Star Wars of hubris, right? Of like these great institutions of their own hubris being their downfall.
Right.
I started to think it last week. I truly think that Hemlock is going to make a big mistake, and you've got the right kind of shit weasel in Rampart, who may not be the big chief scientist guy, but he has. And that's why I think they've brought in, what's her name? Doctor. I forget her name. The other female doctor. Scalder. Yes, thank you. That's what Scalder might be there for. Of Rampart and Scalder to take over
for Emery and
Project Necromancer, to take over from Hemlock and Hemlock and Emery.
It's quite possible. Or you know what? Let me throw something out there. Just connectivity wise. What if they install, maybe with Rampart, Scalder, maybe Scalder bites the dust, but maybe just an introduction to a character in animation that we've seen in live action before. Dr. Pershing.
Maybe. Because we know there's more than one base on Wayland. Yeah. The mountain behind.
Oh, yeah.
That's another base.
Yeah.
So I think Pershing might be a little bit young at this point.
Maybe. Because he was like, it looked like he was
a young upstart kid.
30s, 30 could be like a 30s, late 20s. I'm saying that's why Rampart's in charge, and he's like the head doctor of it.
I think Rampart's going to learn. I said it before. I think Rampart's going to learn everything about what's going on in the mountain, and he's going to be like, either you give me the position, or everyone's going to find out about this thing. You might kill me, but what's worse, me being alive and them not knowing, or me being dead and everyone knowing about what you got going on here? Because when in the EU, when Thrawn takes over Tantis, it's abandoned at that point.
Right.
So who knows?
I said we had a similar argument last week. I think I'm going to argue back again and say I can't see Rampart being stupid enough to try to blackmail someone like Tarkin or Palpatine. Like, he won't blackmail them, because he would blackmail the Bad Batch like that. It'd be more of a case of ingratiating himself and saying like, yeah, I brought them Bad Batch. I know what I'm doing here. I'm proving my loyalty to you. He's gonna he'll turn the Bad Batch in, kind of. He'll try to help her get them. At the end of the day, Hemlock will be gone and say, hey, I took the fall for you. I'm still staying loyal. I understand what the Empire is doing. Put me back in play. Let me earn my due again, or something like that.
I'll agree with you, Palpatine. But like the great Britney Spears, Tarkin is a master tactician. If Rampart came to him and said, I know what's going on, give me this position or I'm gonna blow the roof off of everything. You don't think Tarkin might be like, all right, you think that you're blackmail when I can control you? Okay,
yeah.
I'll let him have this. I'll let him think that he's got this one up on me.
Right.
So I can figure out what the fuck is going on in that base. Let me use this meat puppet to find out what's going on. So then when this happens, I can take all the glory.
Right. Yeah.
I just think that, like, we've seen Project Necromancer in the hands of so many people now.
Right.
I think Rampart's going to be the next one to take up the mantle.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. It'd be like kind of like a kick in the pants to the folks who've started liking Rampart, as far as like wanting him to be more on the
be a kick in the pants to me because I hate the guy.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I like him as a character, and I think that I would like to see him back in action at some point as the Empire. It'd be kind of fun to have, because you don't. So the funny thing is, one of the things about Star Wars storytelling connectivity, it always feels like we got a bad guy. All right, we kill that bad guy, we get rid of that bad guy, next bad guy, next bad guy. Where Veer and Palpatine and Thrawn, to a degree, kind of the ones who stay kind of, Tarkin, I guess, too, in a way. They're the ones who stay kind of active in there. It'd be kind of cool to see a lower level Imperial still hang around for a while and still be able to pop up every once in a while. And like, we know who he is, we have history with him, instead of just, we're going to have generic Lieutenant Novitz. I was like, this is like the
Lieutenant Novitz,
general guy there who's going to do that. Random guy here. We're like, it's another one of those Imperials or something like that. This is when we have history with him. It's nice to see him pop back up, even as a lower tier villain, so to speak. We need a little more of that, I think. I'd like that, to be honest with you. But all righty then. Is there anything else we should break down, mention? Anything else? Are we good to go?
No. I think we're good. It's funny, I've actually just got a text from Ken Napsol that I'm just replying to. So if you guys see me looking up screen, it is somewhat Star Wars related.
Fair enough. All right, Matty, where can the folks find you?
You guys can find me right down there. You see it there? My handle there. That on all social media. So Uniform. You can find my band Mourner, Mourner, on all streaming platforms. Brand new song, Out to Get You, is out now. If you haven't heard it, why the fuck not? Go listen to it. If you're a fan of this show, you'll love it. You probably won't, because it's fast and screaming and loud. But yeah, you can find me here every week talking Star Wars with this guy. Where can the people find you?
You can find me at Paul_Duzio on the Twitter. You can find me all over this channel as well. We got a lot of great shows we got going on. We have review every other week with Lego. We're going through the V franchise. I just recorded a very fun episode coming out soon, where I am actually reading the unproduced final script that was never actually put on the air, and Lego's going to react to it live as I read it, which is fun. You don't get that kind of reaction very often. And the script is not very good, so it's a fun time. We get to trash the script quite a bit. So that's a lot of fun there. Of course, I got Crown Jewels. This week's song is Let Me Entertain You from the Jazz album. A great rock and roller there. Should have been the first song on the album as far as I'm concerned, but still a lot of fun to have there. And of course, PJ and I, two mediocre white dudes on film, including a special episode will probably be out next Tuesday. I'm going to say PJ and I just signed the dotted line. We are going to be interviewing the director of the Womp Stomp films. And Phil's Vincente Sunday. It's going to be a great episode. He loved the podcast we did. He led big comments, like long comments, and in depth and everything else. And so we're going to have a fun conversation with him, talking about the Womp Stomp Productions, talking about his films, in the Never Hike Alone, Never Hike Alone 2, and probably talk a lot about Jason Voorhees in general, because he's a big Friday the 13th guy. And I'm sure we'll delve out to horror in general.
You mentioned that the Jason Voorhees kill with the two sleeping bags is possibly my favorite horror movie kill of all time.
It's one of mine as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if that does come up, because we do talk about our favorite kills here.
I think it might be my favorite kill in a horror movie ever, with the two women with the sleeping bags.
I absolutely love it. So I think that's all the shows I do, right? I'm a man of 1,000 streams today, as Matty always likes to say.
Man of 1,000 streams, yeah.
Next week, stay tuned. We'll be back discussing the hopefully double length Bad Batch, but if not, it's okay. Bad Batch season series finale, and we should have a lot of fun there.
I'm trying to convince Paul to let us do it live, guys. I am trying. The people are demanding it. I'm not sure which people are demanding it, but people are demanding it. A Holy Snokes live.
Potentially is always there. I don't love doing things live anymore. I kind of prefer the one-on-one, but maybe we'll see. We'll have to see. But that's, you'll have to wait and find out, I guess. Or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/PLD Projects. You'll probably find out in that chat first if I decide to do it. And if you have Austin Cattell, Jeremiah Morris, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Altman, all these great people. But yeah, if you can't do that, I totally get it. Just say that, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share us, all that good stuff. Does help out the algorithm quite a bit. This is the first episode, by the way. We are on our audio feed specifically. Like, we have We are on the Holy Snokes audio feed now. We are no longer on the PLD Projects audio feed. So that will be in the description below. So make sure you click on that to find out if you want to find us on the audio side of things. That is neither here nor there. That is this week. Wait till next week. Bad Batch finale. And as always, may the Force be with you. Always. May the Force be with you. Always.